Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman. Now I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Oh man, we are having a real fun throwback Thursday as we try to get the Cinema Sit Down back on track and up to date, catching up with all the movies we've seen post vacation because we fell behind during vacation. So catching up there, pushed all the things we've seen since behind as well. So as we finish up that wrap up, we've had some fun already today. We talked. A good old family fun film with Dora and the Lost City of Gold. Surprisingly, one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. Really, really good stuff there. Then we shifted gears and went into the horror realm for a little Guillermo del Toro, Andre Overdahl team-up collaboration for scary stories to tell in the dark. And much like Crawl with Sam Raimi and Alexandra Aja, we got a wonderful team up there and a great classic horror anthology type movie that tells one cohesive story. Really, really enjoyed that one. And now we shift gears one more time to just laugh your ass off. R-rated comedy coming from one of the greatest in that realm, Mr. Seth Rogan. Oh, this is the funniest movie I've seen in a long time. Maybe the funniest movie I've seen since the last one Seth Rogan did, which was Superbad. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into one of the funniest movies of the year, Good Boys. Oh my gosh, man. This movie did everything you wanted it to and then some. And what's fascinating is the best way to describe this movie is Superbad for tweens. Now, when you have an instance where you can basically describe a movie to another movie, right? Especially one that comes from the same people, let's say like The Hangover. The Hangover, brilliant. The Hangover 2, very funny, but not as good because it was essentially just the same movie with a slightly different story. But then the third Hangover, you kind of tweaked something, and still not as funny as the first, but better than the second, and that tweak really helped. And when you can tweak that just a little bit, you can kind of tell stories that are very, very similar, but have them work even better than they did in the past. And that's what happens with Good Boys. You take kind of the context of something like Superbad and once again have a group of three, but instead of it being, Seth and Evan, Jonah Hill and Michael Cera being the best friends, and McLovin, played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, kind of be like the outsider of that group of three. All three are tight-knit, close friends. They actually go by the name the Beanbag Boys. I love when you get stuff like that. And the Beanbag Boys is so appropriate for this cast of three. Played by the great Jacob Tremblay. The thing I love the most about this movie is Jacob Tremblay. Because we're so used to just seeing him do Oscar caliber stuff, to see him do a rated R comedy where he gets to drop F-bombs and just be a kid. Oh, it was more enjoyable than watching him do the Oscar-worthy stuff. But when you have Jacob Tremblay, Keith L. Williams, and Brady Noon, who play Max, Lucas, and Thor, this group of three, like, Beanbag Boys is the perfect way to describe them, and they call themselves the Beanbag Boys because they got beanbags, duh. But this cast of three, very much like the Superbad cast, meshes well together, and while, McLovin kind of would go off on his own more and wasn't really part of the group, per se, this group is a fully intact group that does everything together, and start to finish, the story that they go on, this adventure that they're on, is brilliant. The concept of the movie, of course, is, like I said, Superbad for tweens. You have these three kids who really aren't the popular kids. Jacob Tremblay, close, and is kind of our into the popular scene, much like Evan was with Michael Cera's character. Although he wasn't really close to being popular, but could he's a sweet kid, so you get him in. That's very much what Jacob Tremblay's character is like. And they kind of end up getting invited to a party because Jacob Tremblay does. And the first thing they know is like, well, it's a kissing party, right? When you're a tween, that's the thing that's so great about this movie. They nail all the tween stuff. Even for the current generation, like, it still applies to me, man, like kissing parties, or you go play spin the bottle. So they're like, how do we kiss? And it's that concept. They're trying to figure that out, which leads them to losing a drone, which Max wasn't supposed to touch. It was his dad's. And now they have to try to get that back. And then the overall thing is to get to the party, and, Max wants to kiss this specific girl. And it's absolutely brilliant because, like I said, it nails the tween stuff. The things you have to deal with, like not knowing how to kiss a girl, or puberty, or, guys and girls, or, being with a group of friends that you've been with since you were a little kid, but as you grow up, you guys start to kind of like different things and maybe grow a little bit apart. You're still that collective group, but it's a little bit spread out more than it used to be. And having to deal with all those things as you get ready to transition into high school are just executed perfectly, where, like I said, it applies directly to this generation of kids, but Rogan handles it in a way where the story ends up being something that we can all relate to from when we were tweens, because we've all gone through those awkward periods. And it's absolutely hysterical, and it follows the same kind of flow of Superbad, but has enough tweaks where it's so original, and the idea of following these tweens just makes it absolutely brilliant. And like I said, the cast, fantastic. Jacob Tremblay, like I said, getting to watch this kid just kind of drop his guard, have fun, let loose, say some bad words. Perfect, while also being the Jacob Tremblay we all know and love, man. He's absolutely adorable, and a genuine sweetheart. But has a little bit of a bad boy in him, as he wants to kind of get this girl, I believe her name is Brixie, played by Millie Davis. And he just nails everything. That interaction, being that kind of person that floats between hanging out with the cool kids and then having your two boys. He just nails it. Keith L. Williams made me laugh harder than anybody in this movie, because he is just the purest, most innocent sweetheart of a child I've ever seen on the big screen ever in my entire life. He's so stinking adorable and just genuinely good that he is like a massive rat. He just always has to tell the truth. And the way all of that plays, and when he gets amped or angry or aggravated and he yells, and his voice, and he's the biggest kid in the movie, height-wise and just size-wise, and then his voice goes all the way up here when he screams. Oh, he was absolutely brilliant. And then you round out this trio with Brady Noon, who plays this kid who is the one who's trying the hardest to fit in, right? He wants to be edgy and cool, but he's also a theater kid. And even though he loves to sing and do the theater, if people kind of question that, he kind of backs off. And the way he plays in the movie with those two, he's the perfect, Seth. He does the Jonah Hill stuff. He does the big gags. He says the big things. He tries to be cool. I'm going to take 6 swigs of beer. That's one of the things. How many swigs of beer can you take? It's 3's the record, man. Or 6 is the record. Something, whatever the number is. Stuff like that, just so funny. And he's the guy that needs to do that. Needs to prove himself constantly. And that mesh of 3 characters, borderline popular, just innocent and just all around nice, and the kid who just wants so desperately to be the popular kid. That mixture of friends works so well. Their chemistry together felt so natural. You felt like these 3 kids grew up together. And then, like I said, they kind of have to deal with growing up. And in the tween world, just a couple weeks can mean massive growth in the group of friends, which kind of happens in the movie. And the way they kind of deal with that and separating, it's only been a week and a half. It's so perfect. It's so spot on funny. And that's what makes the movie so great, because it's so genuine about where it's coming from and the story it's telling about being this age. It just nails it perfectly. And then you just kind of round out the cast. You have these 2 older girls that live, the one lives next to Max, and they're trying to go to this concert, and they end up stealing the drone, which we see in the trailer, and then the kids steal the purse, which has Molly, which is a drug in it, that the 2 girls want to take to the concert. So they're kind of always, there's the whole middle of the movie is this giant chess game between the kids and these 2 girls, played by Molly Gordon and Midori Francis, Hannah and Lily, and that element of the movie is perfect because it gives you the edge into the high school kid, and the way that comparison kind of hits, and the different things that kids are doing, right? You're talking about swigs of beer versus a slightly hallucinogenic type ecstasy drug. So they kind of play with those things really well, and I loved Hannah and Lily in the movie and how they counter. And like I said, it's this massive chess game in the middle of the movie that's bookended by the beginning and then the end, which leads us to the party. And then how they play their role at the end of the movie, oh my gosh, so stinking money, so good. So they're really, really awesome. And then a lot of the other kids, as I mentioned, Millie Davis, who plays, Max's crush. She's very quiet, but plays the role perfectly for what was needed. Isaac Wang, who played Soren, he's the the cool kid, like the one who has the kissing parties and has all the cool technology and stuff. He's got like VR gaming and things of that nature. He's really, really great, and I love the way he interacts with Max and then interacts with the group and how it just all plays in and around there. And everybody else that pops up that is a kid in the movie, they're all just really wonderful. And again, this wonderful mixture of kids, man, a really nice, diverse class. And just the way they all interact both at the parties and with the main group of kids, it's just wonderful. I love that group. And then throw in there, you get a little Will Forte and Marissa Portalense, who play Max's mom and dad, and mostly just Will Forte is phenomenal. Like, he's the dad who's like a techie, and he's got the drone, and he's very specific about things, but like he wants to be the nice guy, but he will tear things up if you mess around. Executes that stuff so well. He's super funny, and just everybody that gets mixed in here is adding something, whether it be humor. We get to hang out with Lucas's mom and dad a little bit, and his dad is played by Lil Rel Howery, who anytime he pops up, he's very, very funny. And how that mixes in with Lucas's story is great. But like I said, everybody just kind of adds and helps support these three kids who, Jacob Tremblay, Keith L. Williams, Brady Noon, just knock it out the ballpark. Is another big win for Seth Rogan and his team, and they've made two of the funniest movies of my entire generation, Superbad and now this movie, Good Boys. Absolutely stellar things. And like I said, there's a lot of comparisons to Superbad, but this thing stands alone on its own, and it is laugh out loud funny start to finish. Oh, and they pack it with so much wonderful stuff. Really, really was a big fan of Good Boys. Now I want to know what you're thinking, man. If you've seen Good Boys, where does it fall for you in your funny movies of recent watching? How does it compare to Superbad? Was it too similar for you, or were you able to get enough tweaks and enough of an original story dealing with the tween atmosphere that you liked it a lot? What was working, not working? If you haven't seen it, have we enticed you? I hope we have, man. This movie is so freaking funny. You gotta check it out. But let me know everything you're thinking down below. As always, if you enjoyed this review, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man when we talk movies, gotta hit that subscribe button over there, and then that little bell that follows so you get alerts every time I make a new video. For the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I am the C-Man, and I am signing off, man. Peace. Well, I'll be. You guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.